Hey guys, tonight we're going to take a walk through the ancient Roman world and marvel at its incredible engineering feats. We'll see the great arrow straight roads that connected an empire, the magnificent aqueducts that carried water for 100 miles, and the colossal amphitheaters that shook with the roar of 100,000 spectators. We tend to look at these achievements with a sense of awe, as symbols of the glory and genius of Rome. But tonight, we're going to look at the other side of the coin. We're going to explore the brutal, horrifying human cost that was the foundation of these great works. We'll discover that for every perfect arch and every paved mile, there was a story of immense, forgotten human suffering, and let's be honest, you, with your modern notions of workplace safety, labor laws, and the radical idea that your job shouldn't literally kill you, would not have made a good Roman construction worker. Your request for a hard hat and a lunch break would have been met with a confused stare from the overseer, followed by a swift and enthusiastic application of a whip to your back. You'd be lucky to survive your first week. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's a simple gesture that means a great deal and helps keep this channel's journey into the past going strong. And, as always, I'd love to see where you're all watching from tonight. Please post your city, state, or country and the local time in the comments. It's always a pleasure to see our global community gathering for our nightly story. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world is one of deep forests, of damp earth, and the smell of wood smoke. You are a warrior of a Gallic tribe, a man whose life is governed by the seasons, the hunt, and the occasional raid against a rival clan. Your home is a simple roundhouse made of wood and thatch. Your freedom is as vast and as wild as the great forests that surround you. And then the Romans come. They appear at the edge of your world not as men, but as a relentless, unstoppable force of nature. They are a disciplined, glittering river of steel and leather, the legions of Julius Caesar, cutting a swath through your homeland. You fight them. You fight with the wild, screaming courage of a man defending his home. But your bravery is no match for their discipline. Your iron longsword is no match for their short. Stabbing gladius, your painted shield is no match for their great. Interlocking scuda, your warband is shattered by the cold, efficient, meat-grinding machine that is the Roman legion. You are wounded in the battle, a sword cut to your leg. You are disarmed, and your hands are bound tightly behind your back with a leather cord. You are now a captive, a prisoner of war. Your life as a free warrior is over. Your journey into the horrifying heart of Roman engineering has just begun. You are chained at the neck to a long line of your surviving kinsmen, and you begin to walk. You are marched for weeks, away from the green forests of your home, towards the heart of the empire that has just conquered you. The march is a brutal, thinning out process. You are given little food, a handful of coarse grain a day, and even less water. The legionary guards who march alongside you treat you not as a defeated warrior, but as livestock. A man who stumbles and cannot get up is either cut from the chain and left to die on the side of the road, or is dispatched with a quick, merciful thrust of a spear. You are spoils of war, no different from the gold armbands, the cattle, and the weapons looted from your village. In fact, you are the most valuable plunder of all. Rome's insatiable appetite for conquest is matched only by its insatiable appetite for the cheap. Expendable labor needed to build its great empire, and you are that labor after weeks of this grueling march. You arrive at a Roman provincial city. It is a world unlike anything you have ever seen. Your village was a collection of wooden huts in a clearing. This is a city of stone, of paved roads laid out in a perfect grid, of great temples with towering columns. It is a world of overwhelming order, power, and arrogance. You and the other captives are herded into the city's slave market. It is an open plaza, filled with the noise and stench of human desperation. Here, Your final dehumanization is completed. You are stripped naked and forced to stand on a raised wooden platform. A small placard is hung around your neck, detailing your age, your origin, and any special skills you might possess. A potential buyer, a wealthy Roman citizen, comes to inspect you. He forces your mouth open to check your teeth. He prods your muscles. Assessing your strength, he examines the half-healed wound on your leg. He discusses your price with the slave trader, who is an agent for the Roman army. With the same detached air a man might use to buy an ox or a horse, you've been captured by the Romans. They have a very exciting and comprehensive cultural exchange program for you. It involves chains, forced marches, and being sold to the highest bidder. But you are not bought by a wealthy man for his household. A different kind of buyer is here today. He is an agent for the state, a public contractor. He is not looking for a domestic servant or a tutor for his children. He is buying muscle. He is buying strong. Healthy male slaves in bulk. He is acquiring the raw human material needed for a great new imperial project. Your sale is agreed. You are now a servus publicus, a public slave. You belong not to a man, but to the Roman state itself. A far more demanding and unforgiving master. You are taken from the market and thrown into a holding pen with hundreds of other men from a dozen different conquered lands. Dark-haired Iberians, fair-haired Germans, fierce-looking Dacians. You are all the same now. You are all cogs, about to be fitted into the great grinding machine of Roman construction. This is a common, historical fact that underpins the entire glory of Rome. The great engineering feats were built on the backs of a vast, expendable workforce, a huge percentage of which was composed of slaves and prisoners of war. The successful campaigns of generals like Caesar and emperors like Trajan were not just military victories. They were massive slave raids that provided the manpower for the next generation of monuments. You are marched from the city to your new home. It is a labor camp, a sprawling, squalid shanty town of crude wooden barracks, set up near the site of the great project. The conditions are as bad as any prison. You are crammed into long, low buildings with dozens of other men, sleeping on rough wooden bunks stacked 3 high. The air is foul. The food is the bare minimum required to keep you alive and working. It is a diet of coarse bread and a thin porridge of beans or lentils. Meat is a rare, almost unheard of luxury. Here, you see the complex social structure of the Roman labor force. You, the slave, are at the very bottom. But you work alongside other men. There are the damnati ad metallum, criminals condemned by the state to a life of hard labor. Their status even lower than yours, if that is possible. And there are also free men. These are the poor, landless citizens of the empire, members of the collegia, the trade guilds of craftsmen and laborers. You might be doing the same work hauling a stone, digging a trench side by side with one of these men. But there is a vast, unbridgeable gulf between you. He gets a meager wage at the end of the day. You get a bowl of bean mush. He goes back to his own small hut and his family at night. You go back to the locked barracks. He is a poor man. You are a piece of property. Historians will debate the true efficiency of this system. Was a slave-based economy truly the most effective way to build these great projects? Or was it, in the long run, inefficient, requiring a massive and costly security apparatus, and dealing with a workforce that had absolutely no incentive to work hard or well, and every incentive to slack off, to sabotage, or to rebel, but for the Roman state? The calculation was simple. Your life had a price, and that price was cheap. You were expendable. There were always more conquests, more prisoners, more slaves to take your place when you were broken and used up. On your first night in the barracks, the overseer, the magister, addresses the new arrivals. He is a former legionary, a hard man with a scarred face and dead eyes. He carries a short, thick vine staff, the vetus, the symbol of a centurion's authority, and he rests it lightly on his shoulder. You have no names. he barks. His voice the sound of gravel. You have no past. You are not Gauls, or Germans, or Dacians. You are numbers. You are hands. You will do the work you are given. From sunrise to sunset, you will do it without complaint. If you work hard, you will be fed. If you are lazy, you will be beaten. If you try to run, you will be crucified. That is the only law here. The next morning, you are roused from your bunk before dawn by the blast of a horn. You are given your breakfast of stale bread and water. You are organized into work gangs, and you are marched out of the barracks. You are led towards a great scarred hillside, a place where the earth has been cut open, revealing the raw, white stone beneath. It is the quarry. You are handed a heavy iron hammer and a set of wedges. Your new life, your new identity as a cog in the great machine, has begun. The promise of the Roman world, the promise of its law and its order, is a promise made only to its citizens. For you, it has only one promise: a lifetime of hard, brutal, and unforgiving labor in the service of an empire that has destroyed your own world, and now plans to use your body to build its own. Your new life as a cog in the great Roman machine begins at the quarry. It is a vast, white, open wound in the side of a mountain, a man-made canyon of staggering scale. From a distance, it looks like an anthill, teeming with thousands of men, all crawling over the great terraces of stone. As you are marched closer, the sounds and smells of the place wash over you, a tidal wave of industrial misery. The first thing that hits you is the dust. A fine white, choking powder of limestone or marble hangs permanently in the air. It coats your skin, your hair, your simple tunic. It gets in your eyes, making them red and watery. You breathe it in with every gasp of air, and you can feel it settling deep in your lungs. The air quality in the quarry is fantastic if you enjoy breathing the thick, white cloud of fine silicate dust all day. It does wonders for your lungs, in the sense that it completely destroys them over a period of several years. The second thing is the noise. It is a deafening, relentless cacophony. It is the sharp, high-pitched clink, clink, clink of thousands of iron chisels on stone. It is the dull, heavy thud of great wooden mallets and iron sledgehammers. It is the grating screech of stone being dragged over stone. It is the groaning of thick ropes under immense strain, and over it all, it is the constant, barking shouts of the overseers, the magistri, their voices hoarse from a lifetime of yelling. You are assigned to a work gang, a group of about 30 men. Your fellow laborers are a microcosm of the Roman Empire's conquest. There are other Gauls like yourself, bearded Germans, dark-eyed Thracians, and wiry Iberians. You do not share a language, but you quickly learn to communicate through a simple vocabulary of gestures and grunts. You are all bound together by the universal language of shared misery. Your work is the most basic, most brutal, and most essential task in the quarry, cutting the great blocks of stone from the mountain itself. You do not use great saws or machines. You use your own body, and a few simple tools. You are shown to a section of the rock face that has been marked out by the Roman engineers. Your task is to help carve a deep channel into the solid rock. You are given a heavy hammer and a set of iron wedges and chisels, and you begin to work. You kneel or crouch on the hard stone, and you hammer. All day long, you hold the chisel, and another man swings the sledgehammer. Then you swing, and he holds. It is a rhythmic, two-man dance of pure, brute force. The shock of each blow travels up the chisel, into your hands, and through your entire body. Your hands, soft from a life of wielding a sword, are quickly blistered, then raw, then calloused. The work is agonizingly slow. At the end of a full day of non-stop labor, your team might have deepened the channel by only a few inches, and the channel must be several feet deep. You work under the blazing Italian sun, the white stone reflecting the light and the heat until it feels like you are working inside an oven. You are given a ration of water, but it is never enough. The sweat pours from your body, and the white stone dust cakes onto your skin, turning it into a ghostly gray paste. The danger is constant and immediate. The quarry is a place of organized industrial-scale violence against the earth, and the earth often fights back. A misplaced hammer blow can send a shard of stone flying like a projectile, capable of blinding a man. Above you, on the higher terraces, other gangs are working, and the risk of a dropped tool or a dislodged rock cascading down upon you is ever present. The greatest fear is a rock slide, a sudden, catastrophic failure of the quarry face that can bury an entire work gang in an instant. The quarry has a simple but effective safety program. It's called Try Not to Get Crushed by the Multi-Ton Block of Marble. It's more of a suggestion than a rule. After weeks of this channel cutting, the moment comes to separate the great block from the mountain. This is a process of ingenious, patient force. You hammer dozens of dry wooden wedges into the deep channel you have carved. Then, you and the other men bring buckets of water and pour them over the wedges. You soak them until they are saturated, and then you wait as the wood absorbs the water. It begins to swell, slowly, imperceptibly, but with an irresistible, immense power. You hear a low groaning sound from deep within the rock. A thin crack appears, the groan becomes a great, tearing screech, and with a final, shuddering jolt that you feel through the soles of your feet. The massive, multi-ton block of stone splits away from the face of the mountain. But the work is far from over. Now this great block, the size of a small house, must be moved. It is maneuvered using massive wooden levers and crowbars onto a heavy sledge. You are put on the ropes, you and 100 other men, your bodies straining in unison. Pull the great stone across the quarry floor towards the dressing area. You chant as you pull. Your voice is a rough chorus, the rhythm giving you the collective strength that no single man possesses. At the dressing area, the skilled stonemasons free men, members of a guild who are paid a wage for their craft takeover. They begin the work of shaping the rough block into a perfect rectangular ashlar or a great column drum. But your work continues. You must clear the waste rock, the thousands of smaller chips and fragments created by the masons. You load the rubble into baskets and carry it away. Another endless, repetitive task. Here you see the brutal hierarchy of the Roman world in action. You, the slave, perform the brute force, dangerous and unskilled labor. The free craftsman performs the skilled work. He may live a hard life, but he is a person. He has rights. He goes home at night. You are a tool, and you sleep in the barracks. Historians will later debate this division of labor. Was this system, with its reliance on vast amounts of coerced, unfree labor, truly efficient? Or did it stifle innovation and create a society of profound and brutal inequality? You do not know the answer. You only know the weight of the basket of rocks on your shoulder, and the sting of the overseer's whip when you slow down. You might even be tasked with a more precise, if equally grueling, job. You might be ordered to help carve the Lewis holes into the top of a finished block. This is an obscure but vital detail of Roman engineering. It is a dovetailed hole, wider at the bottom than the top. A special iron lifting device is fitted into this hole, and when a crane lifts it, the shape of the hole causes the device to lock into place, allowing the massive stone to be hoisted into the air. Your job is to help carve this precise, load-bearing shape into the hard stone with a simple hammer and chisel. The safety of the entire construction process will depend on the strength of this small hole you are carving. It is a task that requires immense care, performed by a man whose own life is considered to have almost no value. Men die here. It is a simple fact of life in the quarry. A man is crushed by a shifting block. A man on a high ledge loses his footing and falls. A man simply collapses from heat stroke and exhaustion. His body is dragged away with little ceremony. His number is noted by a clerk, and he is replaced the next day by a new arrival, another captive from another distant war. You see this, And you know that you are utterly expendable. Finally, after months of this work, the block you helped to hew from the mountain is finished. It is a perfect, massive piece of dressed stone. It is loaded with immense effort onto a great solid-wheeled wagon to be hauled by a team of 20 oxen to its final destination. Perhaps it is destined for a temple in Rome, or a great bridge, or an aqueduct. You look at the stone, a thing of stark, clean beauty, a symbol of the order and permanence of the Roman Empire, and you know that it is born of your suffering. Its whiteness is the color of the dust that has filled your lungs. Its smooth faces are the product of the sweat that is poured from your body. Its great weight is a reflection of the crushing weight of your own servitude. You have helped create a piece of the glory of Rome, a piece that will last for 2,000 years. And your own contribution, your own pain, your own name, will be utterly, completely, and invisibly buried within it. Your part in this stage of the great work is done. Now, you and the other surviving members of your work gang will be marched on to the next great project, the building of the road that will carry this very stone toward its final destination. The great dressed stone you hewed from the mountain is loaded onto its wagon and begins its slow journey toward a distant, unknown city. Your journey is much faster. You and your work gang are chained together once more and marched away from the white, dusty hell of the quarry. You are moving on to the next great imperial project. You do not know where you are going, or what you will be building. You only know that it will involve hard labor, meager food, and the constant, watchful presence of your overseers. After several weeks of marching, you arrive. Your new workplace is not a single, contained location like the quarry. It is a long, raw scar carved across the landscape, a path cleared through forests and across hills. You have been assigned to the construction of a new Roman road. You learn that this road, like all the great roads of the empire, is not being built for the convenience of merchants or the comfort of travelers. You are building a military artery, a highway for the legions. It is designed for one primary purpose: to allow the Roman army to move with devastating speed from one part of the empire to another, to crush rebellions like the one that led to your own capture, and to project the power of Rome into the farthest, most rebellious corners of its domain. You're building a state-of-the-art highway. It's designed to allow heavily armed legions to march at high speed to your village to efficiently crush any thought of rebellion you might be having. It's all about connecting people before your own work begins. You watch the Roman military engineers, the grammatiti, as they lay out the path. They are men of science and precision. They use strange, complex instruments like the groma, a device for laying out perfect right angles, and the chorobates, a long wooden plank with a water level, used to ensure a precise, consistent gradient. They are utterly indifferent to the natural landscape. Their philosophy is one of absolute dominance. If a forest is in the way, it will be cut down. If a hill is in the way, a cutting will be made through it. If a valley is in the way, a great bridge or embankment will be built across it. The road does not bend to the will of nature. The road imposes the will of Rome upon it. Once the engineers have marked the path, your work begins. And it is a systematic, layered, and brutal process. The construction of a Roman road is a science, and you are its most basic, most expendable component. Your first task is to clear the way. You are given a heavy axe and a billhook. You are sent into the forests that stand in the path of the road. For weeks, the air is filled with the rhythmic sound of hundreds of axes biting into wood and the great crash of falling trees. You are not a skilled woodsman. You are a slave, and you are clumsy. Accidents are frequent. A falling tree, a misplaced axe swing. The work is dangerous and relentless. Once the great trees are down, you must clear the undergrowth, uproot the stumps, and burn everything. A great, wide corridor of cleared, Blackened earth is your first mark upon the land. When the path is cleared, the second stage begins the digging of the fossa, the great trench that will be the foundation of the road. You are back to the most fundamental of all slave labors. You are given a shovel and a basket. You dig. You dig into the hard, rocky soil, your muscles straining. You fill your basket with the heavy earth. You haul it to the side of the trench, and you dump it, forming a long, low embankment. You do this all day, every day, under the watchful eye of the overseer. The trench grows, foot by painful foot, a great ditch 10 to 15 feet wide and several feet deep. Then comes the heart of the Roman road-building genius, the laying of the foundation. This is what will make your road last for 2,000 years. It is a process of building up layers, each one compacted and solid. And your job is to carry the materials. First is the statumen. You are sent back to the quarry or to a nearby rocky outcrop to gather large, flattish stones. You carry them, one by one, to the great trench. These stones are laid down by more skilled workers, fitted together to form a solid, stable base. Next comes the rudus. You are now hauling gravel and smaller stones. You fill your basket again and again, carrying tons of stone and sand to be dumped on top of the foundation, mixed with a primitive form of Roman concrete to bind it all together. This layer is then compacted, a job done by teams of men using heavy, flat-bottomed wooden rammers, pounding the mixture down until it is as hard as rock. On top of that goes the nucleus, a layer of fine gravel, sand, or sometimes a smoother concrete made with crushed pottery. This is the final bedding for the road surface itself. Your life becomes a simple, brutal equation of weight and distance. You carry heavy rocks from one pile to another pile. You do this 12 hours a day. Your back is a constant, screaming ache. Your hands are raw. Your spirit is a dull, empty thing. You're no longer a warrior, no longer even a man. You're a beast of burden, a human cart. Finally, the top layer, the summa crusta, is laid. This is the work of skilled masons, free men who are paid for their craft. They take great, polygonal blocks of hard stone, often basalt, and they fit them together like a giant, intricate puzzle. Their surfaces perfectly flat and their joints so tight that you cannot fit a knife blade between them. But while they do the skilled work of placing the stones, you are the one who must haul these incredibly heavy paving stones to them. You are the foundation of their skill, alongside the road itself. You must also dig the great drainage ditches, one on each side. The Roman engineers understood that water was the greatest enemy of a road. The road surface itself is crowned, made higher in the middle, so that rainwater will run off into these ditches and be carried away, preventing it from undermining the foundation. So you are back to digging, another endless, thankless task. Historians will one day marvel at this great network of roads, seeing it as a triumph of civilization, an artery of commerce and communication that bound the empire together. They will debate its primary purpose. Was it a military tool, or did it become a great economic engine? But they will rarely speak of you, of the thousands of anonymous, forgotten slaves whose sweat mixed with the concrete, whose broken bodies were buried in the ditches alongside their work. The pace of the work is set by the military precision of the overseers. They are often ex-centurions, men accustomed to driving legions forward, and they drive you with the same relentless, unforgiving rhythm. The road advances across the landscape at a steady, measurable pace. Each evening, you can look back and see the progress. The clean, white line of the finished road is stark. Geometric imposition on the wild landscape. But this progress is measured in your own pain, in the aches of your body, in the slow death of your spirit. One of your fellow Gauls, a man from your own tribe, collapses one afternoon from heat stroke and exhaustion. He cannot get up. The overseer prods him with his vine staff. The man does not move. The overseer, with a sigh of annoyance, calls two other slaves. Drag him out of the way, he says. Leave him for the crows. He is useless. The man is dragged to the side of the road you have just built, and he is left there to die. His death is not a tragedy. It is an inconvenience, a minor disruption in the day's work schedule. You watch this, and you know that your own life is held in the same cheap regard. After many months, your section of the road is complete. It lies behind you, a perfect, enduring ribbon of stone, a monument to the power and genius of Rome. It will withstand the tramp of legions, the passage of centuries, the rise and fall of empires. It will last for 2,000 years. You stand on its smooth, hard surface, and then you are given your new orders. Your work gang is being moved on. The road is finished, but there are always more projects. A new aqueduct needs to be built to bring water to a thirsty city. A new amphitheater is required for the public games. Your work is not done. You are chained together once more. And you begin to march, your footsteps echoing on the hard, paved surface of the very road you have just built with your own sweat and blood. It is a road that will carry you not to freedom, but only to the next site of your unending servitude. The road is finished. It lies behind you. A perfect white scar on the landscape. A monument to your sweat and the lives of the men you lost. But there is no rest. Your work gang is chained together and marched on, away from the road you have just built. Your destination is a wide valley where a new, even more ambitious project has begun. You have been assigned to the construction of an aqueduct. You arrive to a scene of immense, organized industry. Stretching across the valley is a line of massive, half-finished stone piers, the future legs of a great bridge that will carry water across the low ground. You see thousands of other laborers' slaves, convicts, and poor freemen swarming over the construction site like ants. The air is filled with the familiar, deafening noise of hammers on stone and the shouts of overseers. You look at the plans, great drawings on papyrus weighted down with rocks, and you see the genius and the arrogance of the Roman mind. The aqueduct will carry fresh, clean water from a mountain spring more than 30 miles away to a thirsty, growing Roman city. It is a work of incredible precision. The engineers, the grammatici, have calculated a precise, continuous, gentle downhill slope that the water channel must follow for the entire 30 miles. The water moves by gravity alone. Where the land is flat, they will dig a trench. Where a hill is in the way, they will tunnel through it. And here, where a great valley stands in the way, they will build this magnificent, towering bridge to carry the water across. Without breaking the perfect, gentle gradient, it is a project that will bring health and life to thousands of Roman citizens. It is a great civic good, and it will be built with your suffering. Your first assignment is on the high arches. This is a new kind of terror. The stone piers are already 100 feet tall, great towers of masonry. Your job is to work at the very top, helping the masons construct the arches that will span the distance between them. To get up there, you must climb the scaffolding. It is not the secure metal scaffolding of a future age. It is a rickety, terrifying web of wooden poles and planks, lashed together with rope. It sways with every gust of wind. It groans and creaks under the weight of the men and the materials. You climb, your hands and feet finding precarious holds. The ground a dizzying distance below. You have a new saying here, don't look down. It's also your only safety policy. Your job is to be the muscle at this perilous height. You haul materials up from the ground using simple rope and pulley cranes, powered by other slaves on a great wooden treadmill. A hamster wheel for humans. You haul up heavy buckets of mortar, a mixture of lime, sand, and volcanic ash called pozzolana. You haul up the dressed stone blocks, the voussoir, each one weighing hundreds of pounds. You work on a narrow wooden platform at the top of a pier. The wind tries to tear you from your perch. There are no safety rails. A single moment of dizziness, a single misplaced step, means a swift and certain death on the hard ground below, and falls are common. You see a man. A fellow Gaul from your work gang lose his footing while carrying a heavy bucket of mortar. You hear his brief, sharp scream, a sound that is quickly swallowed by the wind. You do not look down to see the result. You cannot afford to. The overseer simply shouts for another man to take his place, and the work continues without pause. A man's life is worth less than a moment's delay in the great work. You help the masons install the great wooden centering, a temporary arched framework upon which the stones of the arch will be laid. Then you help hoist each wedge-shaped stone into place, swinging precariously at the end of a rope, while the masons guide it into its precise position. It is a slow, terrifying, and intricate dance, performed 100 feet in the air. After months of this work on the high arches, you are reassigned. A great hill of solid rock stands in the path of the aqueduct, and the engineers have decided not to go around it. But through it, you have been sent to the tunnel crew. If the high arches were a world of wind and vertigo, the tunnel is a world of claustrophobic, suffocating darkness. You enter a narrow, man-sized hole cut into the side of the hill. The air inside is immediately cold, damp, and foul. The only light comes from a few smoky, foul-smelling oil lamps, which consume the precious oxygen and cast long, terrifying, dancing shadows. The work is brutal. You are in a cramped, narrow space, sometimes so low you cannot even stand upright. You work with a heavy hammer and a chisel, or a pickaxe, chipping away at the solid rock face, inch by painful inch. The noise is deafening. The sharp crack of iron on stone magnified and trapped in the confined space until it is a physical assault on your eardrums. The air becomes a thick, unbreathable soup of rock dust. You cough constantly, a deep, rattling cough, your lungs filling with the same silicate dust that you knew in the quarry. You've been reassigned to the tunnel crew. It's a great opportunity for those who enjoy working in cramped, dark spaces with a high probability of being buried alive. The air quality is terrible, but on the plus side, it's so dusty you can't see how terrifying it is. The greatest fear in the tunnel is the sudden, catastrophic collapse. You are always aware of the millions of tons of rock and earth above your head. You listen constantly to the sounds of the tunnel, to the groaning and creaking of the wooden support timbers. For any sign that the mountain is about to reclaim this small wound you are carving into it, Roman engineers, you learn. Have a clever method for speeding up this work. They are digging from both sides of the hill at once, two teams of men slowly chipping their way towards each other. The great challenge is making the two tunnels meet perfectly in the middle. They use their sophisticated surveying tools, but they also use more primitive methods. This is an obscure but fascinating piece of their engineering lore. From time to time, the work stops, and you are all told to be silent. Then, a man at the face of the tunnel will strike a large bronze shield with a hammer. A team of engineers on the other side of the hill will press their ears to the rock, listening for the faint, percussive sound, using it to correct their direction. For months, you toil in this dark, airless hell, and then one day, as you are chipping away at the rock face, your chisel suddenly punches through. A small hole appears, and a sliver of light from the other side shines through. I see a great shout of triumph echoes through both tunnels. The two work gangs have met. It is a rare moment of genuine joy and accomplishment in your miserable life. Historians will one day marvel at the precision of these Roman engineers. How did they achieve such feats with their simple instruments? Was it pure genius? Or was it the brutal application of a massive, expendable workforce that could afford the time for such painstaking labor, and that could easily absorb the cost of the frequent, fatal accidents? Finally, the aqueduct is complete. Your section of the great structure is finished. You stand in the valley and you look at the magnificent line of arches marching across the landscape, a testament to the power and audacity of Rome. The engineers perform the final ceremony. The sluice gates at the mountain spring are opened after a long, silent wait. You hear a new sound, the gentle gurgle, and then the steady rush of water flowing through the stone channel high above your head. Clean. Life-giving water is on its way to the city. You're building a magnificent structure to bring clean, life-giving water to thousands of Roman citizens. Your own drinking water is from a muddy, questionable puddle at the base of the construction site. You feel a flicker of something that might be pride. You helped build this. Your sweat and your suffering are in its very stones. But the feeling is fleeting. The work is done here. An overseer barks an order. Your work gang is being assembled. You are being chained together once more. Your labor is needed elsewhere. You hear the whispers passing between the other slaves. Stories brought by new arrivals. You are not going to another construction site. You are being sent to the mines. A new and far deeper kind of hell awaits. The aqueduct stands completed. A monument of graceful arches carrying its gift of clean water to a city you will never see. Your part in its creation is done, but your journey in service to the Roman Empire is not. Your work gang is chained together, and you are marched on once more. This time, the journey is longer, more arduous. You cross the sea, packed into the stinking hold of a transport ship, and then you march for weeks into a rugged, mountainous province at the edge of the empire, perhaps Hispania, famous for its silver, or the newly conquered Dacia, rich with gold. As you travel, a new and more sinister rumor ripples through the lines of captives. You are not going to a construction site. You are not being sent to build a road or a temple. You are being sent to the mines. A cold, deep dread. Colder than any fear you felt on the high scaffolding or in the dark tunnels. Settles in your heart. Every slave in the empire knows what it means to be condemned to the mines. It is not a sentence of hard labor. It is a slow, deferred death sentence. You arrive at the mining complex, and it is a vision of hell on earth. The entire valley has been transformed into a great, poisoned industrial wasteland. The hillsides are scarred with open pits and the dark mouths of countless tunnels. Great, ugly piles of gray waste rock, the tailings from the mines, rise like man-made mountains. The air is thick with a perpetual, acrid smoke from the smelting furnaces, a smoke that stings your eyes and coats your throat with a metallic taste. The river that runs through the valley is a dead, milky gray, its water poisoned with lead and other heavy metals. The barracks here are not the rough but orderly camps of the construction projects. They are squalid, heavily guarded pens, surrounded by high fences and watchtowers. Escape from this remote, toxic wilderness is impossible, and your work begins. You are given a simple loincloth, a small, smoky oil lamp, a hammer, and a chisel, and you are led to the mouth of a mine shaft. It is not a grand entrance. It is a small, dark, ugly hole disappearing into the earth. And you descend. The journey down is a descent into absolute blackness. You climb down a series of rickety, slippery wooden ladders, one after another, going deeper and deeper into the cold. Silent earth. The only light is the feeble, flickering flame of your own small lamp. The air grows hot, stale, and difficult to breathe. After a descent that feels like it will never end, you reach the bottom. You are now in a cramped, low-ceilinged tunnel, hundreds of feet below the world of the sun. This is your new home. This is your tomb. Your job is brutally simple. You are a digger. You are assigned to a rock face at the end of a narrow, freshly cut tunnel. The space is so cramped you cannot stand upright. You must work on your knees or lying on your side, and you begin to chip away at the rock. Clink, clink, clink. The sound of your hammer on your chisel is absorbed by the dense rock, a small, dead sound in the immense silence of the deep earth. This is your entire world for 12 to 14 hours a day. The tiny, flickering pool of light from your lamp, the hard, unyielding face of the rock, the feel of the hammer in your hand, The jarring shock that runs up your arm with every blow. The slow, agonizing progress. Chipping away tiny fragments of the silver-rich galena ore. The air you breathe is a thick, choking soup of fine rock dust. You know, with a dull certainty that this dust is filling your lungs, turning them slowly to stone. You see it in the older slaves. They have a constant, deep, rattling cough. They are weak, always fighting for breath. They are dying of what future doctors will call silicosis. The air is also filled with the invisible poison of lead and arsenic vapors. Released from the ore body itself, the darkness is absolute and disorienting. Your small oil lamp is your most precious possession. If it goes out, you are plunged into a blackness so complete it is a physical presence. To be lost in the labyrinthine tunnels without a light is to be lost forever. The danger of collapse is your most constant companion. The tunnels are supported by flimsy-looking wooden pit props, which groan and creak under the immense weight of the mountain above you. You listen to the sounds of the earth constantly. A trickle of dust from the ceiling. A new creaking sound from a support beam. Any of these could be the prelude to being buried alive in an instant. And then there is the water. The tunnels are constantly seeping with cold groundwater. You often work for hours kneeling or lying in a puddle of foul. Stagnant water. Your skin perpetually raw and chafed in the lower levels of the mine. Keeping the tunnels from flooding is a constant. Desperate battle. You might be assigned to a dewatering gang. The most hellish job of all. Here, you work with a team of other men to power a great Archimedes screw or a massive multi-stage water wheel. A device designed to lift the water from the lower levels to the surface. Your job is simply to push or walk on the great wheel. Day after day, in the dark. An endless, mindless, circular journey to nowhere. Your only purpose to keep the mine from drowning. The life expectancy of a slave in a Roman mine. Especially a precious metal mine with its associated poisons. Was appallingly short, a few years at most. Often, it was only a matter of months. This was a known and accepted fact of the Roman economy. The empire's currency, its wealth, its ability to pay its legions, was dependent on the vast amounts of gold and silver extracted from these mines. And the empire viewed you, the slave, the prisoner of war, the condemned criminal, as a cheap and expendable fuel for this great economic engine. You are being literally worked to death. There is no hope here. In the construction camps, there was at least the end of the project to look forward to. The possibility of being moved on to a different, perhaps less brutal, task in the mines. There is no end. There is no escape. There is only the rock, the darkness, and the slow, inevitable decay of your own body. You see men die every day. A rockfall crushes a man in the tunnel next to yours. A man. His mind clouded by the lead fumes, stumbles into a deep shaft in the darkness. Another, his lungs completely ruined by the dust, simply lies down and dies. His final breath a rattling, bloody cough. The bodies are dragged to the surface and disposed of with no ceremony. You, too, feel your body breaking down. You have a constant, hacking cough. Your joints ache with a pain that goes beyond simple labor. Your hands begin to tremble uncontrollably, a classic sign of heavy metal poisoning. Your mind, once sharp, feels slow and foggy. You're being poisoned, consumed by the very earth you are being forced to tear apart. One day, you are working at the rock face, your hammer feeling impossibly heavy in your hand. A wave of dizziness washes over you. The darkness at the edge of your vision, which is always there, begins to close in. You try to take a breath, but your lungs will not obey. You collapse onto the cold, wet floor of the tunnel. The overseer comes. He prods you with his boot. He sees that you are spent, that you are no longer a useful tool. He barks an order to two other slaves. Take him out of the tunnel. He is finished. You are not carried to an infirmary. There is no infirmary here. You are dragged into a disused side tunnel, a place where the vein of ore has run out, and you are left there. In the cold and the dark, you are cast aside. Like a broken hammer or a worn-out chisel, you lie on the cold stone floor. The light from the main tunnel is a distant, mocking glimmer. Your breathing is a shallow, painful whisper. This is your tomb, a tomb you helped to dig. Your final sensation is not of pain or of fear, but of a profound and welcome silence. As the absolute crushing darkness of the deep earth finally embraces you and claims you for its own. Your story could have ended there, in the absolute darkness of a Spanish silver mine. Your body a forgotten offering to the empire's insatiable hunger for wealth. But the Roman state has many needs, and it has conceived of many different kinds of hells for the slaves who serve it. Let us imagine a different fate for you. You were not sent to the remote, provincial mines instead. You have been brought to the heart of the world, the magnificent, terrible, and glorious city of Rome itself. You are still a public slave, a servus publicus. But your new workplace is not a mountain. It is the city's own dark, subterranean, and beating heart. You have been assigned to the maintenance crew of the Cloaca Maxima, the great sewer of Rome. You have been given a prestigious civil service position in Rome's sanitation department. Your office is a dark, underground river of filth, and your main job responsibility is unclogging things. The career prospects are murky. Your first ascent is a journey into another world. You follow your overseer to a stone staircase leading down from a back alley. The moment he opens the heavy stone lid, the smell hits you. It is a physical force, a wall of stench so powerful it makes you gag and your eyes water. It is the concentrated, festering smell of a million people's lives, the smell of waste, of rot, of sickness, and of decay. You are given a simple loincloth and a pair of thick, leather sandals. This is your work uniform. You are handed a sputtering oil lamp, and you follow the overseer down into the darkness. You are now inside one of the engineering marvels of the ancient world. The main tunnels of the Cloaca Maxima are vast, vaulted chambers of stone and brick, large enough for a wagon to pass through. It is a testament to the genius of Roman engineers. It is also the foulest place you can possibly imagine. The floor is not a floor. It is a slow-moving river, a thick, gray-brown river of everything the great city of Rome wishes to forget. It is the waste from the public latrines, the runoff from the butcher shops and the tanneries, the garbage thrown into the gutters, and the occasional sad, floating carcass of a dog or rat, and it is your job to wade into it. You step into the slow-moving current. The water is thick, warm, and clings to your skin like a greasy shroud. It comes up to your knees. Sometimes your waist. You can feel soft. Unseen things bumping against your legs in the darkness. This is your work environment for 10 to 12 hours a day. Your job is maintenance, the great sewer. Despite its impressive size, is prone to blockages, a collapsed section of a smaller tributary pipe, or a great mass of accumulated garbage and filth, can dam the flow, causing the sewer to back up into the streets and baths above. Your task is to keep the city's filth flowing. You are part of a small team. Armed with long poles and iron hooks, you wade through the darkness, your feeble lamplight reflecting off the slick, slimy walls in the dark. Moving water. When you find a blockage, you must attack it. You poke and pry with your poles, trying to dislodge the mass. Often, you must use your own hands, reaching into the thick, warm sludge to pull out the offending material, a tangled mass of rags, animal bones, and things you do not want to identify. The dangers here are not as dramatic as a rock slide in the quarry, but they are more insidious and just as deadly. The first danger is the water itself. It is a perfect, warm soup of bacteria and disease. It is teeming with invisible killers. You have open sores on your feet from your long march to Rome, and small cuts on your hands from your previous labor. In this environment, any break in the skin is an open invitation to a deadly infection. You see your fellow sewer workers, the suitors, succumb to it all the time. A man will develop a fever, a red, angry swelling on his leg, and within a week, he is dead from a sickness that has poisoned his blood. The second danger is the air. The darkness is filled with noxious gases, the byproduct of all the decomposition, pockets of this foul air. What future scientists will call methane or hydrogen sulfide can accumulate in side tunnels. A sudden release of this gas can suffocate a man in minutes. A silent, invisible death in the dark. The third danger is the city above you. You are working in the city's drain, and when it rains in Rome, the water comes down here. A sudden, heavy thunderstorm can turn your slow-moving, waist-deep river into a raging, subterranean torrent in a matter of moments. You might hear a distant rumble, the first sign that a flood of storm water is rushing towards you. The only hope is to scramble for one of the high ledges or maintenance ladders before the water level rises and pins you to the ceiling, or sweeps you away into the main channel and out into the Tiber River. The sewer has a unique and powerful ambiance. It's very dark, very damp, and has a distinctive aroma that you'll never, ever forget. No matter how hard you try, you are literally in the belly of the beast, the underbelly of the greatest city in the world, as you work. You can hear the muffled sounds of the glorious life being lived just a few feet above your head. You hear the rumble of iron-wheeled carts on the stone-paved streets. You hear the distant, faint sound of a crowd cheering in a great amphitheater. You are so close to the grandeur of Rome, yet you are in another universe entirely. You are living in the city's physical and metaphorical subconscious. The dark, hidden place where all of its filth is sent to be forgotten. The Romans, in their own way, recognized the importance of this place. They even had a goddess for it. Cloacina, the purifier, was the Roman goddess of the sewer. There was a small, beautiful shrine to her in the Roman Forum, the very center of Roman public life, built directly over an access point to the great sewer itself. The irony is profound. The wealthy senators and fine ladies in their clean white togas would offer prayers to the goddess of the sewer, while you, a slave, covered in the very filth she was meant to purify, toiled in the darkness beneath their feet. Historians will later debate the public health impact of this great engineering feat. Did the Cloaca Maxima make Rome a healthier city by draining the swamps and removing the waste from the streets? Reducing diseases like malaria, or did it simply concentrate the city's filth and dump it directly into the river, poisoning the water for everyone downstream? You do not know. You only know your own reality. You are a man who lives and breathes the city's waste. At the end of a long, grueling shift, you emerge. You climb a stone ladder and push open a manhole cover in a quiet back alley. You step out into the evening light, blinking. Your eyes unaccustomed to the brightness, you are covered in a layer of unimaginable filth. And you smell so foul that people recoil from you in the street. You are taken back to your barracks, where you wash in cold water. You are given your ration of bean porridge, and you fall into an exhausted sleep, only to wake before dawn and do it all again. You have seen the glory of Roman engineering from the inside out. You know that the great city, with its magnificent temples, its marble forums, its luxurious baths, and its cheering crowds, is a beautiful facade. And you know that it is built upon a dark, hidden, and stinking foundation. And you are one of the wretched, forgotten men whose job it is to keep that foundation from collapsing under the weight of its own filth. You emerge from the sewer at the end of your shift, blinking in the harsh sunlight, your body covered in the filth of Rome's underbelly. You are cleaned, you are fed your meager ration of bean porridge, and you fall into an exhausted sleep, only to be roused before dawn by the overseer's horn. But today, you are not being led back to the manhole that is your gateway to the underworld. Your work crew is being marched to a different part of the city. You arrive at a place of immense, chaotic, and ambitious construction. A vast elliptical foundation has been dug into the ground, and thousands of men are swarming over it like bees in a great hive. The air is filled with the familiar sounds of hammers on stone, but also with the grinding of great wooden cranes and the shouts of engineers. You look at the scale of the foundation, the sheer size of the undertaking, and you realize you are about to help build one of the Emperor's great prestige projects. This is not a functional, hidden piece of infrastructure like a sewer. This will be a monument for all the world to see. You are here to build a new, great amphitheater. You are here to build the Colosseum. You know what this place is for? Everyone in Rome knows. It is not a temple for praying to the gods. It is not a basilica for dispensing justice. It is a building dedicated to the spectacle of public slaughter. It is a slaughterhouse, built on a scale never before seen, designed for the entertainment of the Roman people. You're working on the Empire's new sports stadium. It's a multi-purpose venue, suitable for naval battles, wild animal hunts, and mass executions. It's fun for the whole family, except for the family being executed. Your work begins at the very foundation. You are assigned to a concrete gang. Roman concrete, the opus cementitium, is a miraculous invention. The secret to their architectural dominance. It is a mixture of lime, water, and a special volcanic ash called pozzolana, which allows it to set even underwater. It is immensely strong. And you, a slave, are part of the great human machine that produces it. Your job is brutally simple. You haul all day. You carry heavy baskets of broken stone and rubble, the commenta to the great mixing pits. You haul heavy sacks of lime and pozzolana. You haul endless buckets of water. Other gangs of slaves mix the materials with great hose, creating a thick, heavy, gray sludge. Then, your job is to haul the heavy buckets of wet concrete to the wooden forms where the foundations are being poured. It is relentless, back-breaking work, and it goes on for months as the massive 30-foot thick foundation of the great arena slowly takes shape. Once the foundation is laid, the great skeleton of the building begins to rise. The primary structure is not solid concrete, but a framework of massive piers and arches, all made from huge blocks of travertine stone. The same kind of stone you once hewed from the quarries. You watch as great wagons, drawn by teams of 20 oxen, arrive daily, carrying these multi-ton blocks from the quarries at Tivoli. And now you are introduced to a new kind of labor, and a new kind of fear. You are assigned to a crane crew to lift the massive stone blocks hundreds of feet into the air. The Roman engineers use great wooden cranes, the magna rota or great wheel. This is a massive wooden treadmill, like a giant hamster wheel. You and a dozen other men are placed inside the wheel, and you begin to walk. Your walking, combined with the walking of the other men, turns the great wheel, which turns a spindle, which winds a rope, which slowly, painstakingly, lifts the great stone block from the ground. You walk for hours, going nowhere. Your world, the inside of this creaking, groaning wooden wheel. It is mind-numbingly monotonous and physically exhausting. Through a gap in the wooden slats, you can see the great stone block slowly rising into the air, swaying gently in the wind. You know that the lives of the men working on the scaffolding above depend on your steady, unceasing pace. If you falter, if the wheel slips, the block could fall. Smashing a dozen men to pulp on the ground below, you are then sent back to the scaffolding yourself, back to the perilous heights. You work on the great arched corridors that ring the arena. You help the masons set the wooden centering, and you haul the mortar and the bricks that will form the vaulted ceilings. The vomitoria, the great passageways that will one day spew forth tens of thousands of cheering Roman citizens. As the structure rises, you are sent to work on the most complex and most sinister part of the entire building, the hypogeum. This is the great subterranean basement, a two-story labyrinth of tunnels, passages, and cells that lies beneath the wooden arena floor. This is the backstage area for the spectacle of death. You work in the gloomy, half-lit underworld of the arena. You build the cells and cages that will hold the animals for the great hunts. The Venetians. You know that these cages will one day hold lions from Africa, bears from Germany, and tigers from the Far East. You build the cramped, dark holding pens where the gladiators will wait before a fight. And you help to build the most ingenious and terrifying part of the structure, the elevators. The Roman engineers have designed a complex system of wooden lifts and trapdoors. You help install the great capstans and the pulley systems that will allow the masters of the games to suddenly hoist a caged, enraged lion or a terrified bear from the darkness of the hypogeum directly onto the sunlit arena floor. To the roar of the crowd, the arena features a state-of-the-art backstage area, complete with holding pens for lions and an elevator system to bring them up to the stage. It's all designed to create a really surprising and memorable experience for the performers, who are mostly unarmed prisoners. As you work on this machinery of death, you are often working alongside the men who are destined to be its first victims. Among your fellow laborers are condemned criminals. The damned, they have not been sentenced to the mines, but ad bestias to the beasts. They have been condemned to be executed in the inaugural games of this very arena. They are forced to help build the stage upon which they will be torn apart by wild animals. The psychological cruelty is as refined and as absolute as the engineering. This is the horrifying side of this great work. It is not a temple, it is a machine designed to produce death for the entertainment of the masses, and you are one of its builders. You look at the fine marble seats being installed in the lower tiers for the senators and the emperor. And you look at the dark, damp sand of the arena floor you are tamping down, sand that will soon be soaked with the blood of men and beasts. And you understand the purpose of Roman power. It is the power to organize and systematize violence on an unimaginable scale, and to present it as a gift to the people. Historians will later debate the function of these games. Were they just bread and circuses, a way to keep the Roman mob happy and distracted, or were they a sophisticated form of state propaganda, a way for the emperor to display his power, the vast reach of his empire, and the Roman virtues of courage and contempt for death? The sheer scale of the investment, the immense cost in lives and resources required to build this place, suggests it was far more than simple entertainment. It was a central pillar of Roman power. Finally, after years of labor, the great amphitheater is complete. It is the largest, most magnificent building in the world, a triumph of Roman engineering and a testament to the power of the emperor who built it. An inaugural games is announced. 100 days of spectacle and slaughter. You are not invited to watch. On the day of the games, you and the other slaves who built the arena are locked in your barracks. But you can hear it. You can hear the roar of the 100,000 spectators. A sound like the sea. As the first procession enters the arena, you can hear the trumpets. And later, you can hear the screams. The screams of the men you worked alongside. The roars of the beasts whose cages you helped to build. You lie in your barracks, and you listen to the sound of your own handiwork being put to its intended use. You have helped to create the most perfect and magnificent monument to public slaughter the world has ever known. Your hands are clean of the blood, but you know that your sweat is mixed into the very mortar that holds this temple of death together. The great amphitheater is complete, its stone seats now filled with the roar of the Roman mob and the blood of the condemned. The echoes of its inaugural games fade as you are once again chained to your work gang and march to a new project. You are taken to a different part of Rome, a sprawling construction site where a different kind of architectural miracle is taking shape. This time, it is not a monument of stone blocks, but a building of vast, open, interior spaces, of soaring, unsupported vaults and a magnificent, world-spanning dome. You are here to build a great temple or a public bathhouse, and you are about to become intimately familiar with the material that makes it all possible, Roman concrete. You have worked with concrete before. The simple mortar used in the foundations of the roads and the amphitheater. But this is different. Here, opus caementitium is not just a binding agent, it is the primary building material itself. You learn that it is a revolutionary substance, a mixture of lime, water, volcanic ash called pozzolana, and a rubble aggregate called caementa when mixed. It can be poured into molds of any shape, and it sets into a single, monolithic, immensely strong structure. A man-made stone. It is the secret to Rome's architectural dominance. It is a work of genius, and its creation is a process of mind-numbing, body-breaking, industrial-scale labor. The entire construction site is a vast, filthy, and relentlessly efficient factory for producing concrete. Your life is now a series of simple, repetitive tasks in a great, human-powered assembly line, and your primary job is to haul. Your day might begin at the lime kilns, great stone furnaces on the edge of the city. Here, other slaves work in the intense, shimmering heat, feeding the kilns with wood and limestone to create the quicklime that is a key ingredient of the mortar. Your job is to load the cooled lime powder into heavy sacks and carry it to the construction site. The air is thick with smoke and caustic lime dust that burns your eyes and lungs. More often, your day is spent at the great piles of aggregate. You are part of a human conveyor belt. You fill a woven basket with broken stone, rubble, and sand. You hoist the heavy basket onto your shoulder, and you join a long, shuffling line of other slaves, all carrying their loads to the great mixing pits in the center of the site. You dump your load, and you return to the pile to do it all again. All day. For hours. Your world shrinks to the weight of the basket on your shoulder, the feel of the rough rope handle in your hand, and the sight of the sweating, straining back of the man in front of you. At the mixing pits, other gangs of slaves perform the next step. They mix the lime, the pozzolana ash, and the aggregate together with water. Using great, long-handled hose, they churn the mixture back and forth, under the hot sun, until it becomes a thick, heavy, gray sludge. It is brutally hard work. And then your job changes. You are no longer hauling the dry ingredients. You are now hauling the wet, impossibly heavy concrete. You fill your basket with the sludgy mixture. It is much heavier now, and it slops over the side, the caustic lime mixture burning your skin. And you join another endless line of men, this time leading up the great wooden scaffolding that encases the rising structure. You carry your heavy, dripping basket up the rickety ramps, your leg muscles screaming, your lungs burning. You deliver your small contribution of concrete to the masons and the engineers working on the high walls. And then you descend to do it all over again. You are a single blood cell, carrying a single particle of oxygen. In the great circulatory system of the construction site, Roman concrete is a miracle material that allows them to build incredible structures. The secret ingredient is volcanic ash, lime, and the crushed spirits of thousands of slaves like you. You are building a great, vaulted ceiling or a massive dome, like that of the Pantheon. You watch as the Roman carpenters, skilled free men, construct the massive and complex wooden centering, the temporary framework that will support the concrete as it sets. And then you, the unskilled labor, begin the long, slow process of feeding the great structure. For weeks, you are part of the endless chain of men, carrying basket after basket of wet concrete up the scaffolding. As the great dome rises into the sky, layer by painstaking layer, you begin to notice an obscure but brilliant detail of the engineering. The buckets of rubble you're carrying to the lower levels of the dome are a heavy, dense mixture of travertine and brick. But as the dome rises higher, you are instructed to carry a different kind of rock. It is a lighter, porous, volcanic rock called tufa. And then, for the very top of the dome, a very light, almost weightless, volcanic stone called pumice. You do not understand the reason for this, but the Roman engineers do. They are systematically reducing the weight of the concrete as the dome gets higher. A stroke of genius that will allow it to stand. Unsupported. For 2 millennia, you are a small, ignorant part of this great architectural equation. This form of labor is different from your previous work. In the quarry, you fought against a single, great block of stone. On the road, you saw the landscape change under your hands. There was a direct, tangible connection to your work. But here, you are dehumanized by the scale and the process. You are no longer a man fighting a rock. You are a component in a machine. Your individual contribution feels meaningless. You are just one of 1,000 men carrying 1,000 baskets. You could drop dead from exhaustion, and another slave would be seamlessly inserted into your place in the line. And the great work would continue without a moment's pause. The work is overseen with the usual Roman efficiency and brutality. The overseers watch from raised platforms. They do not care about your name or your health. They care only about the pace of the work. The flow of concrete to the forms must not stop. Any man who falters, who slows down, is singled out, dragged from the line, and flogged as an example to the others. Historians will one day debate the chemistry of the concrete you are mixing. They will marvel at its longevity, its ability to set underwater. They will analyze its components, trying to replicate the lost recipe, but they will rarely speak of the human price of this miracle material. They will not speak of the men who were poisoned by the lime dust, of the men who collapsed from heat stroke at the mixing pits, of the men who fell from the high scaffolding. Their bodies just another piece of rubble to be mixed into the foundation. Finally, after months, or perhaps years, of this relentless industrial toil, the great structure is complete. The moment of truth arrives when the massive wooden centering that has been supporting the great dome is removed. There is a collective intake of breath from the engineers and the foremen. Will it hold? The last of the wooden supports are knocked away, and the great unsupported concrete dome stands, a perfect soaring hemisphere against the sky. A testament to the genius of Rome. The engineers and the architects celebrate. The emperor will declare a holiday. But you are not a part of this triumph. You stand with the other slaves, your body aching, your spirit numb. You look up at the magnificent structure you have helped to create. You feel no pride, no sense of accomplishment. You were just a man who carried a bucket. Your gaze is already turning to the next great pile of sand and rubble, because you know that in the great, insatiable, and ever-expanding city of Rome, there is always another project, and there is always another endless line of men like you to carry the stones. The great dome is finished. The scaffolding is struck. The temple or the bathhouse stands as another magnificent testament to the power of Roman concrete and the genius of Roman engineering. You, a single, anonymous slave in a cohort of thousands, have done your part. You have carried the endless baskets of stone, sand, and cement. You have breathed the lime dust. You have felt your muscles burn with the relentless, repetitive strain. And now, the project is complete, but the great Roman construction machine is insatiable. It must always be fed, and its primary food is the raw material of the earth itself. You are moved from the glorious, finished project in the city and sent out into the countryside. Your new task is not to build, but to harvest. You are to feed the beast. You are marched for days into the green, wooded hills of Latium. You have been assigned to a logging crew. Your new job is to provide the fuel for the great kilns that bake the lime and the bricks for the city's endless construction. You have left the world of building and entered the world of consumption, of destruction. You stand at the edge of an ancient forest. The trees are immense great oaks, chestnuts, and pines that have stood for centuries. The air is cool and clean, and it smells of damp earth and green. Living things, it reminds you. With a painful, nostalgic ache, of the forests of your own homeland in Gaul, the world you lost forever. This forest is a sanctuary, a place of deep, quiet beauty, and your job is to destroy it. You are given a heavy two-man frame saw and a felling axe. The work begins. It is a new kind of hard labor. You and another man work the great saw, its teeth biting into the trunk of a giant oak. Back and forth, back and forth. A slow, grueling rhythm. The sound of the saw is a sad, tearing song. The smell of sawdust fills the air. Finally, with a great, groaning crack that echoes through the forest, the ancient tree surrenders and crashes to the ground, bringing down smaller trees with it, leaving a great ragged hole in the forest canopy. This is your work, day after day, felling the great trees, stripping their branches, and cutting their massive trunks into manageable lengths to be hauled by oxen down to the kilns. It is dangerous work. A falling tree can kill a man in an instant. A misplaced axe swing can sever a limb. But the greatest danger is not to you, the expendable slave, but to the land itself. You are a participant in the great, unseen deforestation of the Roman world. The empire's appetite for wood is limitless. It is needed for the scaffolding and the concrete forms of the great buildings. It is needed to construct the ships that control the Mediterranean. And, most of all, it is needed for fuel. The lime kilns and the brickworks consume entire forests, and the great public bathhouses, the thermae, with their complex systems for heating the floors and the water, are furnaces that must be fed with a constant, massive supply of wood as the weeks and months pass. You witness the transformation of the landscape. The deep, lush forest you entered is gone. In its place is a wasteland of stumps and bare, torn up earth. You have created a desert of your own making. Thanks to your hard work, this once beautiful wooded hillside is now just a barren, rocky slope prone to landslides. It's a real fixer-upper. But the concrete for the new bathhouse is ready, so it's all worth it. And you see the consequences. When the heavy autumn rains come, there are no great tree roots to hold the soil in place. The hillside bleeds. Great torrents of brown, muddy water pour down the slopes, carrying away the precious topsoil, choking the streams, and causing new, more violent floods in the valleys below. The land itself is being wounded, and you are holding the axe. The Romans you work for have a complex relationship with the natural world. In a quiet, shaded part of the forest, you might come across a small, ancient grove, a lucus, that has been left untouched. This is a sacred grove, dedicated to a god or a nature spirit. The Roman overseers will not allow you to cut the trees here. They have a deep, superstitious reverence for these specific places. But this piety is selective. The grove is protected, but the entire mountain around it is being stripped bare. Their reverence for the gods of nature does not translate into a respect for nature itself. The immediate, practical needs of the empire for fuel and timber always outweigh any long-term concern for the health of the land. Historians in the far future will debate this. Did the Romans understand the ecological consequences of their actions? Did they see the connection between the forests they cut down and the soil that washed away some Roman writers? Like Pliny the Elder, wrote with concern about deforestation and soil erosion. But these were the voices of a few intellectuals. The dominant worldview was one of a world of limitless resources, a world that existed to be exploited for the glory and the profit of Rome. You are a living witness to this great, slow-motion catastrophe. You look at the scarred, barren landscape you have helped to create, and it feels like a reflection of your own life. You, too, were once a part of a wild, free world. You, too, were cut down, stripped of your identity, and consumed by the great, insatiable furnace of the Roman Empire. You feel a strange kinship with the stumps of the great trees that surround you. Your work here is eventually done. The forest is gone. You are moved on to another project, Perhaps you are sent back to the quarries, to a different mountain, to begin the process of wounding the earth all over again. The cycle of resource extraction is as endless as the cycle of construction it feeds. The magnificent Roman cities, with their marble temples and their great concrete domes, do not rise from the ground on their own. They are fed by a constant, massive flow of raw materials. And this requires a constant, massive assault on the natural world. The glory of Roman engineering is not just built on the sweat and blood of men like you. It is built on the clear-cut forests of Italy, on the scarred mountains of Greece and Egypt, on the diverted rivers and the slowly dying soils of the provinces. You stand on a barren hillside, looking out at the haze of smoke rising from the lime kilns in the valley below. You have seen the horrifying side of Roman engineering from a new perspective. You have seen that the cost is not just measured in human lives, but in the life of the land itself. The empire, in its quest to build an eternal civilization of stone and concrete, is consuming the very world upon which it stands. And you are the tool it uses to do it. The seasons turn. The years fall away like stones from a quarry face. You are an old man. Your body, which was once strong enough to fell a Gallic warrior, is now a frail and broken thing. You have been a slave for so long that the memory of your life as a free man, the memory of the deep green forests of your homeland, is a faint and distant story. Something that happened to another person in another world. You are no longer strong enough for the heavy labor. You cannot swing the hammer in the quarry. You cannot haul the great stones for the roads. You cannot climb the high scaffolding of the aqueducts. You are a tool that has been worn out, a cog that has been ground down by the great machine. You are now useless to the empire. You are given the lightest of duties. You sit in the sun, weaving baskets from reeds, your gnarled, arthritic hands slow and clumsy. You watch as new generations of slaves, fresh-faced captives from new wars in Britain, in Dacia, in Parthia, are marched into the labor camps to take your place. The machine is eternal. It always finds new fuel in the quiet, empty hours of your old age. You reflect. Your life has been a tour of the glory of Rome. Seen from the very bottom, you close your eyes, and you can still feel the fine, white dust of the marble quarries in your lungs. You can still feel the jarring shock of the breaking plow as it fought the virgin sod of the prairie. You can still feel the vertigo of the high aqueduct scaffolds, the wind trying to tear you from your perch. You can still smell the hot, metallic poison of the silver mines and the cold, damp filth of the great sewer. You remember the sound of the Colosseum crowd, a roar of bloodlust that you heard from your barracks? You remember the endless, monotonous rhythm of carrying basket after basket of wet concrete to build a great temple to a god you did not believe in? You have helped to build an empire. Your hands have touched every part of its magnificent infrastructure. Your sweat is mixed into the mortar of its most sacred temples. Your blood has nourished the soil of its fields. You have given your entire life force to the creation of a civilization whose glories you were never allowed to share, whose comforts you have never known. You look at the great monuments that stand on the horizon. The aqueduct, a line of perfect, graceful arches. The amphitheater, a mountain of stone and concrete. They will stand for 1,000 years, for 2,000. Future generations will gaze upon them with awe. They will praise the genius of the Roman engineers, the vision of the emperors who commissioned them. The names of those emperors and architects will be carved into the stone, remembered for eternity. But your name will not be there. There will be no monument to you, or to the tens of thousands of other slaves, convicts, and prisoners of war whose lives were consumed in the building of these wonders. You are the forgotten foundation. You are the human cost, the silent, unrecorded price of empire, price of... Historians will one day debate the nature of the Roman world you helped to build. They will ask if its greatness was a triumph of law, order, and engineering, or if its foundations of slavery, conquest, and brutality made it a fundamentally corrupt enterprise. They will see the gleaming marble of the Forum and the dark, hellish pits of the Spanish silver mines as two sides of the same imperial coin. And they will argue about which one represents the true face of Rome. But for you, there is no debate. There is only the quiet truth of your own lived experience. Your final sickness comes. It is a simple fever, a cough that settles deep in your worn-out lungs. In your youth, you might have fought it off. But now, your body has nothing left to give. You are taken to the slave infirmary, a squalid room where the old and the useless are left to die. There is no ceremony. No one holds your hand. No one prays for your soul. You lie on a thin straw pallet, and you stare at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the barracks outside. Your life fades not with a roar, but with a quiet, rattling whisper. Your body is not given a proper burial. You are not a citizen. You do not have a family plot. Your corpse is unceremoniously loaded onto a cart with the other dead slaves of the day. You are taken outside the city walls, to a place of waste and refuse. And you are thrown into a great open pit, a piticulus, the common grave for the slaves, the criminals, and the destitute poor. Lime is thrown over you to hasten your decay and cover the stench. Your story ends here, in a nameless pit, your body mingling with the bones of 1,000 other forgotten souls. And the world moves on. The empire you built will one day fall. The great cities will crumble, but some of what you made will endure. The road you paved will still cross the landscape. The aqueduct you raised will still stand in the valley. The Colosseum will become a great and magnificent ruin, a wonder of the world admired by tourists for millennia to come. They will stand before it, and they will marvel at its scale, at its genius. They will take pictures. They will praise the glory of Rome, and they will never know that the true foundation of the great structure beneath their feet is not concrete or stone. It is the dust of your own bones. It is the memory of your own forgotten suffering. The great ruins of Rome fade into the mists of time. The echo of the overseer's shout, the clang of the hammer on stone, the weary sighs of the forgotten laborers, let them all dissolve into the deep and gentle quiet of the present moment. The long, hard life of the slave is over. His story is told. And now, your own long day is done. Bring your mind back to the comfort and the safety of your own bed. Feel the simple, profound peace of this space. It is a space where you are the master, a space defined not by servitude, but by rest. You are not a cog in a machine. You are not a tool in another's hand. You are free. The stories of the past, especially the stories of suffering, can cast a long shadow, but they can also illuminate the preciousness of our own peace, our own freedom, our own comfort. Let the story you have just heard serve as a quiet reminder of the immense and fortunate distance between your own soft bed and the hard, cruel world of the past. There is no more labor to be done tonight, no more suffering to endure. Your only task now is to let go. Let go of the story. Let go of the day. Let your body grow heavy, your mind grow still, and allow yourself to slip into the quiet, restorative, and deeply peaceful sleep that you have earned.